of clean water. An out-of-state company, T-Rex or T-Rex Oil, wants to export its toxic fracking wastewater into the county. Now, the company wants to dump 10,000 barrels of pollution into a disposal well in Sioux County every single day. Once again, Big Oil is transferring all the risk onto Nebraska farmers and ranchers. They're not taking it sitting down. A video recorded at a Nebraska Oil and Gas Conservation Committee hearing has been spreading around the internet like wildfire. Here's Nebraska landowner James Osborne visually explaining what fracking waste could do to drinking water.
That's what we have. This is just beautiful, clean, pristine drinking water. And I know you guys would each one drink this. So what I brought, and my question is, would you drink it? This. It's not mixed up real well. Well, there's some goodies down there. Better share with this class.
Late last month, the Bureau of Land Management unveiled new nationwide restrictions for fracking on public and Native American lands. Those rules take effect coming up in June. Not all states are on board. North Dakota is joining the state of Wyoming in a lawsuit against the federal regulations. Joining me tonight is Jane Klebb, Executive Director of Bold, Nebraska. Also with us tonight, David Kreutzer, who's the Senior Research Fellow of Energy Economics and Climate Change at the Heritage Foundation. Great to have both of you with us tonight. Jane, you first. Let's talk about Nebraska. Why does T-Rex, the company, want to put its wastewater in Nebraska? What do you make of this?
You know, I think people think that Nebraska is just this flyover country, and now they clearly think that we're their dumping ground as well. So whether it's, TransCanada's tar sands or T-Rex's wastewater, from my perspective, they can't get permits in other states because fracking laws have become so difficult. But now Nebraska is essentially wild, wild west. We have no real regulations when it comes to fracking waste, and so we were seen as an easy target for them to get a permit.
Mr. Kreutzer, what's the danger here, if there is any, from what you know?
Well, there's 16,000 disposal wells in Kansas. There are over 600 of them in Nebraska, still using 120 or so. They haven't leaked. All right, there's no sense in scaring people in Nebraska. They should be able to make their own choices, but it doesn't make sense to scare them. You have these wells. It can be done safely. Sally Jewell, the Obama administration Secretary of the Interior, she says fracking can be done safely, and she knows disposal of the water can be done safely.
BP told us
that, Jane?
No, BP told us they could do it safely as well. TransCanada told us they could do it safely. They had 14 leaks in their first year of the pipeline. The problem is, and you may, unless you have information that I don't have, and our first responders in Nebraska clearly don't have it, we don't know what's in those trucks. And under oath, the T-Rex had to admit that they don't even know what's in those trucks. And they kind of just threw out there, well, maybe we can, no, you can wait a second. Maybe we'll monitor the trucks once a month. Maybe? No, maybe's not good enough. We want to know what's in that stuff now.
And they'll tell you. But in any event, we've done this safely. It's been done safely. And, if there are problems somewhere with any kind of process, we fix those problems. We have problems with safety problems with farming. Doesn't mean we quit farming. We correct those problems. We make it safer. It's the same thing with all modern life. All right? You don't shut down everything. Really, the end game here is to shut down energy production, but some people aren't honest enough to admit it.
Well, what if it does leak, Mr. Kreutzer? And isn't that an issue? I mean, how can we guarantee that this is going to be a safe deposit in this well? And why take the risk?
Why take the risk? Okay, the fracking revolution in the United States has been the lone bright spot in the economy, which has been pretty moribund for the past 6 or 7 years. This has allowed us to get the energy. We need this energy. This is how we get to work. This is how we run the tractors for the farms. This is how we run the trucks for commerce. This is how we heat our houses. This is how we go on vacation. We can't say, oh, there might be a leak somewhere. We have this wonderful safety record so far, but there might be a leak. We saw a leak somewhere, so we have to stop all fracking. We have to stop all disposal of salt water in these old wells. It's worked fine for overwhelmingly, so far, it's overwhelmingly safe. All right? You want to point to one thing, and I don't know which one Jane's pointing to. You want to point to that and say that's why we're going to shut down everything? That doesn't make sense. We need to have a modern economy for a modern standard of living.
I agree we need a modern economy.
Jane,
with a
your
modern,
response to that?
Yeah, we need a modern economy with a modern standard of living, and that does not mean that we then rely on outdated fossil fuels. We have got to start moving our country forward. Climate change is a real issue, and I know Heritage Foundation does not believe in that, but the reality is it is true. The science is there. Our planet is warming, and we have got to do something about it. And you may think that we only run on oil and gas in Nebraska, but we don't. We're producing wind. We're producing solar. We have biomass and ethanol in our state. So we don't need to be the dumping ground for all of the irresponsible energy
Jane,
production that's happening in Wyoming and Colorado.
I want to thank you for being sideways honest anyway. What we see here is the real goal here is to shut down oil production. It's nothing to do with fracking in particular. It's oil production in general that she wants to shut down. Well, you're not going to run tractors off of solar cells.
No, but it can run on ethanol.
You're not going to be able to produce the ethanol
energy
you want without huge amounts of water, for one thing, and also you need the diesel to run the tractors to get your ethanil. So, but I appreciate the fact that you let slip. You want to cut oil production.
Okay.
Everybody else wants more.
Mr. Reutzer,
you want less.
Mr. Reutzer, you would have no problem with one of these wells being in your county. Am I hearing that correctly?
No, I wouldn't have any trouble with one of these wells being my county. I tell you in particular, I would rather have these wells in my county, I would rather have a fracking well on my land than to have a 400-foot windmill, and then you get more energy from it.
Well,
so
send me your address so I can have T-Rex come to you.
We've got to leave it there. We will have both of you back, and we'll stay on this story. Jane Klebb and David Kreutzer.